If that is in the son family, probably.
I've got 3 stripers on the Delta. We went to well, we went into law, and that wasn't very far. So the name of where we were at, I had a
friend down there yesterday and caught up with him.
We were right on the dock, the dock, where we parked our signs. And I was really earlier, this site was
all those fish come through there.
Yep. We're thinking of taking a boat sometime. And bringing in trailers.
That's the one. All right, welcome. It's a little bit past 6. I'm sorry, I'm trying not to keep you guys all night. But let's get started. If we have a bunch of good handouts in the back that we're going to be talking about, and these things are, these handouts are, some of it is kind of new things, and a lot of it addresses questions that you guys have asked before. It's some good stuff, good new programs. And we'll talk about that. So at any time, you get up and go back and grab those things. Feel free, please. Get up anytime you want. And again, this is your meeting, so we've got some agenda items, which is also available back there that we're going to get through. And I'd like to have kind of a robust question and answer. I want to hear from you guys and be able to answer some questions. So make some introductions in the room. We have a new captain who is out of town right now, but he will be introducing himself at a future meeting. We have our operations lieutenant for the entire North Division, Julie Peterson. Lieutenant Peterson, welcome. We have Francie Fitzsimmons back there. She's you need anything from the service center, she's the one you're going to see for that. We have the executive officer for the North Division. That's Lieutenant Steve Dutra. We have the supervisor for the homeless outreach team, Tom Bland. We have the homeless outreach team. We have a representative from our community relations team back there. And by the way, those are the guys that bring out, for all you kids and those that have, they're the ones that bring out all the cool swag. So get to know that guy. So, and we've got Paul Munoz from Code Enforcement, and we've got CHP here. And so thank you for being here. As you guys can see, if one of us doesn't have the answer, somebody in this room probably does. So please fire away. Don't be shy at all. And with that, I'd like to give the floor to CHP first.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Anthony Dixon. I work out of the Sacramento, the ESAC area office. I'm going to be the new POP officer for traffic-related issues. Biggest thing we want to hit on, mainly our focus is going to be Orangevale. We do monitor all the pages. We're not going to out ourselves. We only can use our own personal pages, so we're not very active on there. but we do see everything posted regularly. Also utilize the 260 POP email. All that stuff gets funneled through the office. We need paper trails to be able to increase efforts on some of the more problem areas, but all of that stuff gets funneled directly to me also. I am in Orangevale Monday through Friday, daytime hours. So anything, if you see me on the side of the road, feel free to stop and give me a complaint, give me an issue, give me something, I'll work on it. Still, either call the office, use the 260 POP email, that way we can get a paper trail also. Hopefully eventually we can be able to get more officers on the same program also from our office, that way we can hit more of the traffic related issues. All right, thank you very much. So 260 POP at chp.ca.gov.
Oh, okay.
No questions for CHP? Everybody noticed a lot more speed bumps around town, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did too. So my shocks do too. Ma'am?
I think it's wonderful we have one officer. Is that what we have for all of Orangevale, just one?
No, no.
But he's the one that,
There are many, yeah.
but he's the one that we communicate with.
As far as for CHP POP
Yeah.
needs?
Yeah, for CHP, it's just me right now. We're a small office, so right now it's kind of hard, and we're at the mercy of our staffing levels. Right now we're doing pretty good for how small we are, and I think everybody knows Brandon Straw. Born and raised, he's got a very soft spot for Orangevale, as do I. I'm born and raised here also. So we decided to kind of take on this effort while we have the manpower. Brandon is no longer with us in ESAC, but he's promoted. He's going to be out of our division level, but he's still watching. So
We're going to talk about how to, what's the best way to get in contact with everybody. We've admittedly given we have way too many phone numbers, way too many emails and all this stuff. So we want to try and simplify that for you. We don't want your experience to be, like the phone tree that you call and never getting to anybody. So we will address that a little bit. And ultimately, we know them, they know us. If you were to call our office, call our POP line or email us with a problem, something that may require a longer term solution, which is what POP does, and it turns out it's a CHP thing, or it's for us, but CHP would also be a great resource for something else. We work together on Truax Court, and we work together all over the place actually. We call them, it's instant. It's instant. So you're not going to really go wrong with sending either one of us information. You send it to him, and it's for us, where I'm going to get it the same day. Okay, we have a good relationship like that. So anyway, it's like I said, send us your stuff sooner rather than later, wondering where to send it and all. Let's get it out there so that one of us can start dealing with it. Next on the list, I'll give the floor to the homeless outreach team.
Hello, I'm Deputy James Knack, as Deputy McCoy, and Deputy Chris Biddle, both new to our team. Deputy McCoy is assigned to this area with me, so you'll be seeing a lot of him out here with me. Kind of some of the things we've been working on, obviously the beach house, everybody saw the trash. It did get piled up. We ran into a snag with our truck that we had with us that day. When he went to the dump, had some mechanical issues, was not able to follow back up to come pick it up. I'm hoping tomorrow I have a crew and a truck, and it's gone by tomorrow. We also hit the camp across from Winco. That was picked up, and that guy was contacted at Winco. He got a trespass order and got a citation for an open container and loitering. So he's not a happy camper with us right now. Also, I know one of the big issues is not in our jurisdiction, it's in Folsom's jurisdiction. I'm sure everybody knows what I'm talking about. We have reached out and contacted Folsom Police Department and offered our assistance for whatever they need out there. So, but ultimately it is Folsom. I know we went out there, did a little bit of work. I may, depending on my crew, be out there tomorrow helping out a little bit too. So that's where we're at with that. You know, we want to work with them. We are getting your tips about certain people on Main Avenue and are watching it pretty hard. So I'll leave that there, and you guys all know. Me personally, you guys can tell me different if you're not seeing it, but I'm seeing a decrease because I used to drive through Main Avenue, Greenback, Cable Park, and there was people everywhere, and we'd be picking people off, citing people, especially the 99-cent store, that back lot. I go back there now, I never find anybody. Occasionally there's people at the front of it, and we'll deal with it. I know there's a guy right now at Hazel and Madison, which I'm sure you guys have seen pop up behind the cafe. He was talked to today, offered resources. I'm going to try to connect him with the navigator to see if we could get him going in the right direction. But we are going to follow up with enforcement if necessary too. So keep the stuff coming. Let us know what's going on, because your eyes and ears out here. Like, until somebody mentioned the Folsom problem to me, I had no idea that was there. And when I went there, my jaw hit the floor. It was not good. So, but they are working on it.
Where was the Folsom? Is that the one that was at Scott's Seafood?
Yes, it's behind Scott's Seafood in that thing there. So that's where we're at with that. And we have some changes coming on board. Obviously, there's been a major lawsuit, which I'm not going to get into here if you want to talk about it after the meeting. But City of Boise got sued by some homeless people and lost. It's still pending, you know, as of right now. They're going to review it with the full panel judge, and also I'm sure it's going to end up in the Supreme Court. But it's changed the way we do business, but we still have a bunch of tools in our arsenal to deal with the problem. So, but if you want to hit me up after, I'll go through that. Is there any questions? Well, we'll be around after the meeting. If you have any questions, just hit us up. Thank you. Well, thank you, guys.
All right, thank you. So you see that with this issue, with the homeless issue, we're trying to create a win-win type of situation. You know, these are human beings that we're dealing with after all, and while you are our customers and we want to keep them from stealing your things and making a mess on your property and things like that, they're our customers too, in a way. And if we could get them squared away and self-sufficient, win-win, right? That's what we try to do. That's one example, is with the homeless outreach team. Another example is we try and get to and establish a rapport, a good relationship with our young folks and those in need. As you know, in certain neighborhoods more than others, certain circles, there's tremendous pressure to be rebellious against the police, rebellious against your teachers, rebellious against your parents, and things like that. And so how do we get to that? Well, at some point we have to break through and show those young kids, the true innocence out there, that, hey man, we're on the same side here. We're your friends. We're your friends and we're your neighbors, and we have kids just like you and everything else. It's really not an us and them situation. And one of the ways we do that is with our Sheriff's Toy Project. That is a year-round project. However, as you can imagine, it ramps up this time of year more than anything. And so I'd like to bring up Deputy Rod Grassman to talk about the Sheriff's Toy Project.
Good evening to you all. My name is Rod Grassman with the Sheriff's Department. I actually work in community relations. I've been with the department for about 12 years. We do a lot of community outreach throughout the year, and we partner with a lot of people, businesses, individuals, as well as charities. One of our charities within the department is the Sheriff's Toy Project. And as Sarge said, is that this is our big time of year, because one of the big things that we do are help needy families, provide for their families, their kids in particular, for toys and things that they might not have otherwise. But I also thought I would tell you just a little bit about the program itself, which serves kind of a twofold sort of purpose. Folks that have been convicted of lower level crimes rather than going to jail, can come to Work Project. And what they do is they work on different projects within it. They might make toys for kids. Some of them might go out and do some community cleanup, help out at different churches and other community groups. Moral, mentoring sorts of activities. On the flip side of that, we have the Toy Project, the charity itself, and we produce a lot of the toys that we actually distribute, as well as we do a lot of toy drives. You'll see us out in front of several Walmarts on December 1st, out collecting toys. People go inside, they'll buy a toy for a child, a brand new toy, and they'll come out and donate that to us. Our commitment to you is that we will get all of those toys to somebody who really needs it and will really appreciate it on Christmas Day. So we thank you for any help that you might be able to provide us there. We also take donations. We'll also buy toys and coats. We do a coat drive, and we're working on a coat drive right now with the Kovar Fitness Center, the Karate Center, that they've donated hundreds of brand new coats that we'll distribute to also kids throughout the region and the community. And then lastly, at Christmas time, or just before Christmas time, in fact, the application process closes tomorrow. If you know a needy family, I've got some brochures here that I will leave, but they can go into our Mather office. And there's a short application process, but for a family that needs some help, they can sign up and they can get that help. They can make a list of things that they would like for their children. We will put it together, and then there'll be a date in December that you'll come and you'll pick up all that merchandise to take home, then to wrap and have for your kids. So I will leave those available for you also. Do I have any questions at all? Yes, ma'am.
It's tomorrow, you say?
What the application process does for new families, we've been running this for the last several weeks, that they can go in. If there is something...
I'm just thinking about the food bank, if perhaps you've left any of the flyers there.
I have not been down to the food bank, but I do know that the food bank, we do work closely with the food bank as well as the Salvation Army, and we actually share resources. So I think that the folks at the food bank get word, and they actually get referred to us through there. Yes, ma'am.
My grandson's growing out of toys. If I clean them up, will they take used toys?
You know, the toys that we take, we only take new toys. It is some of the places that we go, like we do a big thing at UC Davis, the pediatric oncology. We do a Christmas party with the Active 2030 Club every year, and we give those kids toys. They've all got compromised immune systems, so they can only take new toys. So as a rule, just because of germs and different things, that we only want to distribute new things, new toys. But thank you. We also work throughout the year, and just let me close with this. Say with our homeless outreach team, an example of something we do. You know, they come across folks who need our help regularly. We also provide household items to entire families. Women escaping a violent environment, need to relocate with their children. We will help get them set up. We've been to many places where we'll set up an entire apartment. A few months ago, the South Homeless Outreach Team had a whole family that they were able to get an apartment for. We got donations of brand new beds. We got the whole family beds and just basic furniture stuff that they would need to be set up. So we work within the community all year long. Thank you so much.
So a couple of quick stories on this. We had actually one of your POP officers here, Johnny Rodriguez. He knew of a child of school age, elementary school boy, that rode everywhere on his bike. He was kind of one of these latchkey kids. His parents were on the needy side and constantly kind of doing anything, kind of took care of himself. And this kid was an avid fisherman. So everybody in town saw this kid riding around on his bike with his fishing pole. And, you know, he talked about the way it used to be. I don't know how many bluegill I pulled out of Linda Creek as a kid, a lot. So I immediately liked this kid, right? And so that was his life. Very nice kid, very polite, sociable, and very nice kid. Until one day he comes back to get his bike, and his bike was stolen. So he comes home in tears, and he kind of got yelled at a little bit because of the few possessions he had. He didn't look at it good enough, and it got stolen. And we're thinking, man, we can salvage this. And so Johnny got a hold of a toy project. They had a bike, they cleaned it up. We went to his school and gave it to him. And man, let me tell you, that was the best maybe moment in my career. It was excellent. A sweet kid. We were in another part of town, and he and I talking about trying to get through to some of these hardened kids that grow up a little bit with that hard attitude and everything. And Johnny and I are walking to the school, and we hear, "Hey, cop!" And you know, you kind of, this kind of thing you expect to hear on the prison yard, right? And we turn around, and it's these, and we were, you know, waved and said hi, and these three little kids, and that's how they had learned. That's how you talk, you know, no big deal. They came running up and gave us a hug, and I thought, excellent. You say whatever you want, as long as we're on the same side, you know. So anyway, some great experiences. And by the way, when you donate your time or money or gifts or whatever, you get the credit. You know, we're not in this to promote any department or anything. And one of the reasons is, again, for you and for the child, though. Because when the child realizes, oh, this isn't from a government entity, this is from the people that live around me did this for me. I don't even know them. Quite an impact on a young person. So with that, I'll turn the time over to Johnny Rodriguez. He's going to talk about some of the projects and things we've been doing specific to your area here.
Good evening, everybody. Back to your question about the toys. So Sarge, myself, and two other pop guys and two of the hot guys got sent up to Paradise on Thursday morning. There's a lot of families up there that have absolutely nothing. I'm sure we can facilitate some way to get those toys up there. I know most everybody on our team, we're going to put together a trailer and go up there on the weekend and try and reconnect with the families that we met and donate what we have. So if you want to get with us, we'd be more than happy to take your stuff.
Website to look up to see when you're doing things like this, or?
We're just going to do it on our free time. So, but we can get with you afterwards, and I'll take it myself. So I'm assigned to the art and arcade area. Joe Reeves assigned here, but the good thing is we all work together. So we all have a thumbprint on the pulse of everywhere. So just since the last meeting, I'll kind of touch base on some of the things that we've done. The first one was, it wasn't an anonymous tip, it wasn't a call for service, or it was a call for service, but it wasn't anything that we found out. But Sarge looked into, it was a suspicious person. The lady had a Ring doorbell, and I don't really know how you stumbled upon it, but he got a hold of it, and we watched the video, and it was 3 or 4 in the morning, complete creeper status. The guy goes up to a door of a single lady, sits at the door, listens for a bit, tries a knob, just complete creeper status. That if it was my mom, my grandmother, my whoever, I would want something done. So us as the POP team went out and interviewed all the neighbors, tracked down who this person was, found out who he was by license plates. I mean, we spent a day trying to find this guy. We then presented the case to the DA's office, and they're going to file charges. So that was no anonymous tip, nobody sending us a POP email. So we do a lot of different things. So if we don't respond to your tips instantly, it's because we're doing other things that are just as equally as important. With that being said, send all your tips in. We get paid by the hour, and that's our job. So we look at every tip there is, literally every tip, and we'll follow through on it. With that being said, if you see us go to a house or a neighborhood that we sent a tip, or you'd send a tip on and say, man, they showed up and left, there's a method to the madness. We're going there because we have something else in the works, or there's more to it. It's just not we're just driving by and saying, oh, we did that. There's more to it. That's on to our next one, was a Golden Gate Avenue. It came in as a tip of stolen property, whatnot. We did the research. We went there. We met the homeowner, did a little more research, and found out the homeowner's son was wanted by LAPD for assault with a deadly weapon. So we leave that house, just like everybody in the neighborhood saw us, walk up and walk away. And we did our little covert stuff where we stayed on that house. for about a week. When we went to, once we knew the guy was actually physically there, we had set up a perimeter that nobody would see us. Walked up, and literally Sarge and I walked up there, and the guy walked from the backyard to us. So because we had played at such at a low-key level, it was essentially easy. The guy was friendly, and at the end the guy said thank you. So I don't know how many people you put handcuffs on, they say thank you at the end. It's very rare. But he did. Hazel Avenue, we worked with SMUD and code enforcement. We wrote a search warrant into a house that had an indoor marijuana cultivation. It was pretty elaborate. Went inside, eradicated all the plants, contacted the code enforcement. They had come with us. They actually come, and SMUD, tagged the house. So that was another win, and that was literally just down the street. Village Green Way, I don't know if anybody's familiar. That was a house that had burned up, and the homeowner didn't want to leave. The bank took it over. That's in complete renovation. We actually just went there last week just to see how the status was. The guy has literally gutted the whole house. He's doing miraculous things. He's got more energy than I do, but it's coming a long way. So it was nice to see that. We tried to talk to some of the neighbors, seeing if they were having any problems, but we didn't get very far. There was nobody home. Hickory Avenue, that was another tip that came in, outdoor marijuana grow. I'm older, so I always feel that you can get more bees with honey. So instead of going in and ramming a door with a ram, you can politely knock and say, hey, you're not supposed to have that. The guy took it all out himself. Wasn't aware of the laws, what it pertained, took it out. We went back. I know Joe Reeve went there a week later, gone, and I went back another week after that just to make sure he didn't do the old, I'm going to pull it out and then put it back, and it was all cleared out. Elm Avenue, we also did a search warrant on that. That was a pretty elaborate marijuana grow that we found out after we served the search warrant that his landlord was his next door neighbor, and she had no idea. I'm pretty sure he's not going to be staying there anymore. So those are just some of the things that we've done since the last meeting when we were here last, I believe, October or September. But with that, keep in mind it's now the holiday season. Everybody's going to be out shopping. You're going to be getting your Amazon packages. Just be cognizant of, if you're going to go to wherever, Rite Aid, don't leave your bags out in open sight in your car, because they're going to break your window and grab your bags. Even if it's a gym bag that has an old pair of sweaty socks, they see a bag. And I know that because my mom just had her window broken and literally had nothing in her bag, but it was sitting on her seat. So if you have packages and you have a neighbor that you can say, hey, I'm having Amazon's delivering something, can you grab my package? I would highly recommend it. Make sure all your doors are locked on your cars. We just came from a street over off of Fair Oaks and Watt Avenue, and they had, I think it was 5 vehicle thefts, but every car was unlocked on the whole street. The whole street, then nobody locked their doors. So what are they doing? They keep coming back, and as we're talking to them, there's stuff sitting out of one of their cars they didn't even realize because the doors were unlocked. So please keep your doors locked, lights on, packages off the porch. Just be cognizant of that. Another thing that, I don't know if this recently was implemented, LT, the Sacramento Alert.
It's been around for a little while, it's just not been very widely publicized yet.
So it's a great program. If you guys want to sign up, normally we have brochures in the back. I didn't print any, I forgot. But I'll leave this up here. It has all the website links and whatnot. But you can get on there, log on, and enter as many phone numbers you want. Your home phone, your cell phones, and it'll notify you of any major event. So, for example, when the helicopter's flying over and nobody can understand what they're saying, it'd probably be good for missing persons, because that's generally what they're doing, is the missing persons. But here are some of the things that it does. Flooding, levee failures, severe weather, disaster, events, unexpected road closures, missing persons, evacuations. And to kind of piggyback on that, while we were up in Paradise last week, we were wondering, man, how many people could that have helped during that fire that, you know, just ravaged that town in a matter of minutes. So I think it's a very useful tool. Like I said, I'll leave this up here. It has all the info, so help yourself to that. Another thing we're trying to talk about, because it's the winter time, it's the holidays, everybody kind of likes to go out of town, is through the community centers, you can schedule a vacation check of your house. You have to give a little bit of notice. You can talk to Francie over there, and I'm sure she can fill you in on how you would do it. But if you are planning on leaving for Thanksgiving, let's say, or you know, somewhere a week or two out, definitely contact them, and basically they'll have a volunteer drive by your residence and just do a vacation check. To me, I think that's invaluable, and it doesn't cost anything. So I highly recommend looking into that as well. With that, does anybody have any questions? No? Yes, ma'am?
I do, just out of my own wondering, because there's so many marijuana things here, with the law changes, I mean, what is the technicality law grows that people can do when we see and smell it through our neighborhoods?
So in the county, you cannot have an outdoor grow.
No outdoor.
Correct. And inside, what is it? Nine small plants, and it's got to be in a room. It can't be like in the kid's bedroom, you know, it's got to be in a room segregated for itself.
So one of the big dangers with those, this is why the county decided this, is because that's a major source of, especially these indoor grows that take over, you know, the duplex, and they knock out the wall between the two halves and everything. I mean, it's just, it turns a house into a total disaster, victimizing the owner who thought he was renting it to families. There's that victim. And then on top of that, there's the fire hazard. So we've had several fires because of grow light ballasts, which take up a lot of energy and get very hot. And then the other part of that is the butane honey oil labs, where people are converting this. Well, they're still selling the buds, and then they're taking the leaves and stems, the other things that have THC in it, and turning it into concentrated cannabis with butane gas, basically, and then they cook that gas off. They think it's all bled off. They put it in their refrigerator, which then gets saturated with butane that they don't know about. And the old refrigerator, they open it up, and that incandescent bulb sparks off, and boom! So I want to say one year we had 16 fires here because of that. So very dangerous stuff, which is why the county wisely, I think, made the law the way they did.
I know we hear a lot of conflicting in our community about people who are, oh, it's legal now, it's legal now. So I really didn't know the exact. I didn't know that it wasn't, that outdoor was still illegal myself.
It
so
always has
just
been.
wondered.
So
And to be honest, there's a lot of people that don't, and when we go to these houses, we generally can tell them, hey, this is illegal, and they're shocked and tear it down. The search warrants are more for the people that say, no, I can.
Right.
So then,
Are you?
more or less.
So, and then some of the things with these, like you talked about the vacation checks. Now, the value of this thing, besides, you're thinking, what does it matter if a volunteer comes by? And for one, you are announcing to us that there should be nobody at your house. In order to stop somebody and to demand their ID and not let them go until they do, and if they say, no, I'm not going to, take them to jail. I mean, you know, I need a standard of reasonable suspicion. I can't just do that to anybody. If I see a person in a yard, what does that mean to me? Unless I know the house, it means nothing. People are in their yards. It's normal behavior, not criminal. The second that you let us know, I'm going to be gone, there is nobody to be at my house. And our volunteers go by and say, and see somebody in your yard, or on your front porch, or in your backyard, or whatever. They call us, say one of the houses on the list, somebody's in the yard. We're coming running now. Because now I have super reasonable suspicion, right, to believe that person is doing something they shouldn't. So it empowers us, where one person I have no authority to do anything. or really any reason to at all. The other person, now I have reasonable suspicion. I could get their ID. We could prevent some of these burglaries and things from happening. So that's a big one.
I have a question on vacation. Now that my husband's retired, we tend to leave for a week or two at a time. So I go down to the little substation office that's there in Citrus Heights, and I fill out that form. Is there any way to keep that form on file where I can just call and say, this is so-and-so, and I'm going to be gone again? Because the same information is there.
So, no, we actually do come in each time. And eventually, I think we're going to put it on the website, but the biggest concern we have is that we need both front and back side. Because the front side's all your information about when you're watering water, who might be watering your plants, for your kids and moms and stuff like that. But the back side is actually the security log that says when they went by and if it was secure or if they grabbed a packet and gave it to your neighbor. So that's one of the reasons. And two, we don't have the means to keep stuff like that on file.
Okay.
And you know, maybe one day we'll find a way to, but we really like you to come in and fill it out just because if it's not complete or one time we had someone staying at the person's house. And then like Sergeant says, we don't have a good guy from the backup.
Okay, we don't do that, and I don't have anybody there. And our alarm company also knows that we're gone. But here's the backup as far as, and I like the fact that somebody came by and made sure that, you know, everything still looked
Well, it's
okay.
good for packages and flyers and up on your porch, and it's good for your neighbors.
Will they do that? Will they pick up this, they throw those little papers every once in a while. They'll pick that up?
So they'll just
Okay.
put it back down or something about it.
Okay. All right, thanks.
All right, I was speaking with Marina before the meeting tonight. We were talking about different ways to contact the Sheriff's Department and everything. And I think that, and this is county-wide. It says nothing to do with Orangevale, though it's Orangevale also. It's in the entire county. It seems like the waters are very muddied with how do I contact the Sheriff's Department? How do I get the POP team involved in this and that? So one of the things that we're doing on our end, we're trying to reduce the amount of ways to do that and kind of make that, simplify that process. So we handle things that that require follow-up investigation and things like that. Whereas patrol, it's a call, as long as nobody's in immediate danger and everything, they're off to the 20 other calls pending. So, you know, patrol gets very busy. There's a lot of calls pending for them almost all the time. When something requires follow-up, though, if we don't get called directly from you, we have a system where, I'll tell you how it works, though it doesn't matter, just know that it does work, is they type, when they get that call, they go, oh, this is something that Pop will be able to take care of that house or this situation. So they do the little number sign, hashtag, North Pop. And that call goes directly to us as though you emailed us. It's exactly the same. And we went around to our briefings, to our patrol guys, to tell them, could you please do that more? You know, do that more often, because I want to hear about that. I want you to be able to call and forget about it and have the problem, have every resource you need on that. I don't want you to have to think, well, this is for POP, this one's for code, this one's for homicide detectives, this one's for some. So let me call each of those individually. That really isn't the most efficient way to go about it. So we're really trying to, or CHP likewise, even another agency. CHP, it doesn't matter. We know them. We have code enforcement officers in our office that have desks right next to ours. So it's as easy as us shouting over there and telling Ty Colston, some of you may know, and some of these other guys, hey, we got a thing, come on out, let's all go out to this address. And with that, we also get, my favorite way of communication when it comes to a problem is the northpop@sacsheriff.com. That email goes to all of us. And remember how he was talking about so-and-so, I say he, the CHP, was talking about so-and-so that was here promoted and they're not here anymore? Well, that's why it's so great, because none of us are going to be here 10 years from now. Everybody's going different places, but North Pop will always be here. And that will always go to every single POP member. Okay? So that is the best one to use. And we all get it. I get it, he gets it, we all get it at the same time. So when you use that, if that is, by the way, when you send us an address, we go to every address we get. We physically drive to and go look at every address you send us. So I don't know if you know that or not. You may not see us doing that, but we do. We go to every address we get. And here's the reason why. Well, sometimes we get a tip, and it'll have an address and a suspicious type of a thing, or something you think is suspicious, or something like you talked about, this car was wanted for that. Though in our system, we can run that plate, that VIN, and that doesn't come up as wanted for anything, but that doesn't mean that the owner of that is not under investigation by our detectives. But again, the problem in your neighborhood is not, the detectives are going to handle that one case or that one crime that they know about, okay? The problem house is going to be us. So what we get oftentimes, and this is all over the county, is we get like the full investigation has kind of been done. I mean, in a way where we get lists of license plates, photographs, and oftentimes, in photographs, by the way, there has to be chain of custody. I think I told you before we can't use those in court. And oftentimes it's a photograph of somebody walking. It looks like this, like the Sasquatch pictures, you know. And so to where it could be anything, but it probably is what you're saying, but it isn't. Here's my point. If you can give me the tip a week earlier without that stuff, I'll take it a week earlier. And all we need, and this is, I'm telling you, this is a fact. This is true, and please try it. All I need is northpop@sacksheriff.com or call. You can call the North Pop line, same thing. We get that every day also. 123 this street. Suspicious, go. That's it. Can we make it any more simple? So we're going to go out and with our 6-man team and our 100 years of collective experience, and we're going to go to that door. We're going to do our homework first. We're going to know if we have any Fourth Amendment waivers. Do we have probation status, parole status, warrants? What are we walking into? We're going to know the history of that house. We're going to know who owns it. And even if we don't, we're going to go knocking on that door saying, what's up? And then when we see and smell and hear everything, without our, I got 20 years, he's got almost that much. With our team of experience, we know exactly what it is right off the bat. We know, it's okay, it's a dope house. And then we know exactly what resources we need to put on it. Is it owner-occupied? Is it a rental? We know we'll get our DA's office to write a Penal Code 370 letter, which is putting them on notice. You don't fix it right now, we're going to come and arrest you for a misdemeanor. And they're... our DA, Ron Lithicum, actually has prosecuted people for that. You had a homeowner that was such a, slang term, but kind of the typical slumlord, the stereotypical, I got this house, I just want to collect rent, I don't care what happens to it. Ended up in jail, you know. That was, it was a shocking experience for him, and I guarantee he'll never do that again. But anyway, so that is as simple as I'd like to keep it. I get these emails sometimes that are very elaborate, and you could tell there's been some work put into it and all that, and all I can say is I could have done that for you a week ago. Instead, so if you give it to us sooner, you can always update. If you have something, you can always update. That's no problem. But I'll give you an example. We were at a meeting just like this one. This is recent. And again, a guy trying to do kind of his own semi-detective type of work, you know. He had a car on his street with a guy, a heroin addict, you know, with needles and everything else and junk around the car and everything. So he called 311 because he kept saying, I got this problem car. I want this car gone. And they came and posted it, put a 72-hour sticker on it saying in 72 hours we'll tow it. So the guy moves it around the corner. And so they said, well, our 72-hour clock starts all over again. We have to come out and repost it. And he'd have done that forever. And he came to the meeting, I think, thinking he's talking to us. We'd never heard of this problem because whoever was working on that code enforcement never told us because they were doing their civil procedure. And we're working on better communications with that. So he told us at the meeting, this car is driving me nuts. So we kind of pointed it out to him. You don't have a car problem. You have a person problem. You know? And we're the person problem people. Okay? So, but even if it were a car problem and you called us, will tell the code guys who I have programmed into my phone an instant dial, and we'll call them and they'll get on it. But in this case, he told us at a meeting just like this. We wrote down the address. We went there and got rid of that the next day. Less than, it was like 12 hours later.
Yeah, 11 a.m.
So literally, we're trying to make it the best way possible. Please don't make it too complex. Just get us on it. Get us on it sooner rather than later, please. I don't need a whole lot of information. All of us are very experienced cops, and we know what the problem is and what resources we're going to have to throw at it to tackle it. So you have an address, give us an address. You can, like I said, you can always update if there's something juicy going on. Of course, if you do tell us about it, say there's some weird stuff going on, and you see what you think are drug transactions in the middle of the night, call the sheriff's department. Have a patrol guy go out there right then. Because what that does is they can maybe stop somebody. They can ID people. They can say people often who buy drugs don't want a part of the bigger scheme. So we stop them. We ask them, do you go buy dope over there? And they said, yep, that's where I go get my heroin. And now we have intel. Now we know what we're doing and we know what we're... So anyway, those kinds of things are still valuable to us. But first and foremost, just get us the address. And like I said, if you want to call the sheriff's department, our patrol people will hashtag that to us and they'll get that to us right away. You can email it with the North POP. You can call the POP phone number, which is on those trifold pamphlets. And again, we physically go to every address you send us. All right? Any questions with that? Any particular problems or questions in the community at large or in any of your neighborhoods that you would like to talk about or address? Please.
5965 Searle. Write that down when I've been talking to you about. I won't go until 2:10.
You got it.
That's the
They
vehicle
actually-
right now that is sitting in the driveway with...
They were there last Thursday.
They did 3 arrests last week, but that was warrant-based.
Yeah.
We talked about...
So this is one of the things, this is kind of one of the issues we were talking about. So you mentioned there's a, and if you present it as though there's a car in the driveway that was tied to a crime, a forgery crime. Well, that's what the detectives are going to go after, that crime and everything. But in reality, it's what you're describing to me is a problem house in general.
Yeah.
That's us.
Right.
So again, instead of maybe trying to guess and everything, if you tell us there's this weird house and there's this thing tied to forgery.
5965 Searle.
Perfect, got it. We'll be there tomorrow.
You talked to, yeah.
Yeah.
The camper is, there's a camper, anyway, yeah. 5965 Searle.
Perfect.
Look
Thank
up
you.
the history. Everybody that goes there now is suspicious because of the drugs being sold and the fraud going on.
You mentioned a person that owned the house passed away.
Jacqueline Charles.
Passed away and
She
then.
goes by Jackie. I can show you a picture of her.
And then passed away, and then the house now belongs to
a uniform.
a son or something like that?
It's a daughter, and it just got transferred under a state, what do you call that? It was under a trust. Is it trust? It was under a trust. Her father died, and now in June it went over to her name, Jacqueline Charles.
Unfortunately, a common scenario.
The probation officer said if we just continue, if we get you guys in the loop, we continue putting pressure on, I hate to think they'd go somewhere else and stir up trouble somewhere else, but her picture's listed as being the person that did the fraud at the local store. So
okay, but what we want to do is,
before she gets arrested.
what we want to do is, we don't want to just arrest her because she'll come right back to jail. I mean, we want to hold accountable for that crime also, or whatever crime is applicable. But what we want to do is get that house problem out of there. That's what we do. So like we said, when we show up, sometimes they think, well, those guys showed up alone and they left alone. What's up with that? The bad guys are still there. We got a plan. You know, and the thing is, our plan is permanent. We have some of these rental fraud type of things where somebody will print out a rental agreement online, and then then they move in to a house. When the real owner of the house comes over, and sometimes they'll cut the lockbox off, the realtor lockbox, take the for sale sign out of the grass, you know. And then when the patrol guy gets there in the middle of the night, who doesn't have a lot of resources because everybody's closed or asleep, and they show him this rental agreement, and they say, listen, I'm a poor victim myself. I called up a guy on Craigslist who rented this to me. That's a very common scam. We dealt with that recently. But we also knew because of some timeline stuff that we caught him in a lie. We knew it was entirely false. But we get on that because we have the time to do the homework and all that. And we end up getting them out basically immediately. So things like that. So what we're always working for, we went and talked to them the first time and left, and people thought, why are you going to leave them in the house? The reason is because we were looking for the permanent solution and the solution now. Now she can go, we can write a report and submit for a warrant, so she still has to be, this people I'm talking about, still have to be held accountable for their crimes. But what good does it do it for me to arrest and take her to jail right then for trespassing, a misdemeanor, which she's going to get cited out of jail and be right back later that night. The problem is I need her to get her stuff and go. Okay, so sometimes that's what we do, and we get that, well, why are you just letting them walk away? It's like, oh, we're not. They're going to have to go to court later, but I'm telling you, it's a whole plan. And our goal is always permanent solution. So if I were to go figure out that car, or maybe a warrant comes out for that one person, maybe I go arrest that one person for forgery or fraud or whatever it is, that doesn't solve your problem in the least bit. So we'll deal with the house.
You get over there and
I don't need a reason. That's the greater point that I'd really like to get to. If something doesn't sit right with you, tell us. That's all I need. That's all we need. We are physically going to go there, and we have gone to some that were misread. You know, we have gone to houses where we found out, oh, it was that. It's not a bad situation, and it's fine. We've walked away. Again, no penalty for that. It's okay. If that's the way you felt and we go look at it, but I tell you, most of your tips are good and valid and legitimate. So give them to us sooner with less information rather than later with a bunch. Okay? Any other questions?
I lived in the Roller West area that butts up to that dump now, right next to Phoenixville, where the little airport used to be years ago. Could you bring us up to speed on any activity in the Little Phoenix Park area? And then specifically, I casually know the lady who lives right across the street who had a door kick in, found a 40-some-odd-year-old male upstairs carrying out some computer music stuff not too long ago, and she captured a picture of him on her cell phone camera. And just could you give us kind of a rundown on how that's come together?
I don't have any particulars on that, so that's an entirely different bureau that handles that. Patrol comes out and writes a report that gets submitted to our detectives who handle burglaries. And that's all they do. So somebody's working on that, and I'm sorry, I don't have any information on that. If you would like to, again, if you were to send me an email or the North Pop at sacsheriff.com wanting info on that, I can get that to the right person. No problem. So I can find out who's handling the case.
Activity slowed down somewhat or a lot in the Little Phoenix Park area?
There's not a lot of activity there. So we had things that,
if there is, you're not getting calls on it, right?
well, I mean, there are things that we're aware of. There was a man and a woman that we knew. We happened to be working on it because we happen to know them because we arrested their son. But they went into the park and got into kind of a loud argument, and people called on them, and and so things like that happen everywhere. But as far as crimes where you're in danger when you walk out of your house, no, not a lot of that going on. There's nuisance crimes. Definitely the aggressive panhandling and things like that. Definitely. But as far as being unsafe, like you're going to get mugged going to the store or something, really just doesn't happen here.
Well, I think you're talking more about the transaction.
I shouldn't say never, and I apologize to anybody who may have experienced something like that. What I mean is it's very seldom here.
Most
of the stuff is nuisance.
I live by Little Phoenix too, and there are the drive-by transactions where they park alongside and then they pull up, do their drugs, and then move on. So that's my wonder if we're not seeing, when we see them, we need to immediately call in with whatever identification.
You can, yes.
And that may not be happening.
So
to dovetail, not to interrupt Sarge, but so if you see somebody like that where they're doing hand-to-hand transactions, call for a deputy. Because if you email us and we're up in Butte County and come back 4 days later, by then they're long gone. But if you call a deputy and there's one a block away, then at least we ID them, you know, even if they throw it in a gutter and they don't have any, but we know who the players are. So that's where, that's the non-emergency line.
Well, if it's a crime in progress, it's 911, right?
So 911's for life or death situations. So
Okay.
I would call the non-emergency.
Okay, so that's where
Just say, hey, I see some suspicious activity. It's blue Volkswagen car, white guy, white lady. This is where they're at. I want to stay anonymous.
if you think it's an emergency and you call 911, okay.
Yeah.
We're not gonna, you know, you're
not gonna hang
in
up on
trouble
you.
for that.
Right,
No.
right. That's what we want to encourage the community to do, is make the right choice when we call in so that our teams know what's going on in this area, because some people, you know, that feel sometimes that it doesn't do any good. So,
Absolutely. So there's a car in our neighborhood that they like to sleep in the car. I call every time I see it because squeaky wheel gets the grease. Let's be honest.
And it
that's how it
empowers
works.
us. Again, once you call in, there's no crime, by the way, to be legally parked and sleeping in your car. It's not a crime. Now, if these people are doing more than that, they're doing the drugs in the car and leaving needles around and all that, now it becomes a problem. Once you call us and tell us that, I now have reasonable suspicion to detain that person. Okay, so it is important.
Just real quick, a lot of misconception with highway patrol as far as 911 and non-emergency goes. We have 1-800-TEL-CHP. I can't speak for the Sheriff's Department's dispatch center, but our dispatch centers, when you call our non-emergency line, it's going to a desk over there versus if you call 911, it's going to a desk over there. Both of them are getting routed to the immediate dispatcher. So I know a lot of people that we run into, they say, you know, I called 911 because I didn't want to get put on hold, and you may get put on hold on a non-emergency. However, it's still getting routed to the officer that's out on that beat. A lot of people think that they get filed or that they get called back. That's not the case. It's just a different desk, a different phone line to make sure 911 stays free for those life-threatening emergencies.
So there is, and everywhere we go, there is, you know, there are people looking, you can get crime stats online. We don't give those out anymore, just numbers. In fact, we've teamed up with the supervisor's office that even said, please stop, because this job and everything that happens here is way too complex to be whittled down to a number. And so oftentimes what you're looking at, the number you're looking at is a call type. That's what the person called in and thought it was. It's not what it ended up being. So you might see 3 assault with a deadly weapons. What does that seem like to you? Gangland shooting, right? Worst case scenario. Somebody coming into a house and shooting it up. Well, one might be 2 drunk brothers were in the backyard. He's like, shut up, and threw a bottle at the other one. 245, assault with a deadly weapon. Now, you know, probably nobody's going to jail for that, you know, it'd be depending on what it was, but, and then the other one could be shooting. It could be legitimate. But so you look at those and you think, man, there was 3 gangland shootings here? And well, no, there wasn't. I mean, so that's kind of one of the things. The other thing is that not everybody is, not everything is accurately reported. Not everything is as it seems to be. And I'll give you an example. Somebody, not here, in a different part of town, we had people calling in saying, hey, there's prostitution rampant at this place. We said, okay, what is it that that you see? Well, it's this night. It's basically a pool hall where they serve alcohol, and there's gals showing up that are kind of dressed sexy in Ubers. So Uber is bringing prostitutes to this thing, and I thought to myself, that's every bar in America. You know, somebody was responsible enough to show up in an Uber dressed as though they might be trying to connect up. That's every bar in America, right? But the caller made this giant leap and thought prostitute. Even though there was nothing else, it was a girl that looked pretty going to a bar. So do you see what I mean? So we kind of get that kind of stuff also. But what I'm telling you is I don't mind. Be as accurate as you can and everything, but I don't mind. If you think it's that, we're going to go investigate it. And if it turns out to not be, that's fine. No penalty. I'd rather you tell us, though. And again, I'd rather you tell us sooner and be wrong than tell us later down the line and be right the whole time. You have to live with it longer than you need to. Okay? Well, it is 7 o'clock, a little bit past.
Just one question. Nixle is one that, you know, we've been told to use in the past to get an update on sheriff's activities in Orangevale. It also covers Citrus Heights. But I've noticed in the last 4 or 5 months that the information that Sac Sheriff is providing is nothing more than Cone Avenue missing persons. You know, it's like all the board and care facilities, all their missing persons. But there's rarely any kind of crime issue posted anymore. I just wonder whether that was basically being directed that way or whether we just have no crime.
On what?
Nixle. Citrus Heights started with
Does
it.
anybody have a... I'm not even aware of what you're...
So Nixle is more of a nationwide. You can make an account with Nixle. You can put in a zip code or a general area, a county. It's more for, you'll get traffic hazards, you'll get accidents. It's not really meant for active crime. The original purpose of it was not meant for active crime going on unless it's life-threatening in a particular neighborhood. But you have to subscribe to a zip code, you have to subscribe to a specific area. The thing is the department has to send the information to Nixle, and then Nixle disseminates it out to their partner. So like with CHP, it's active in a sense depending on the dispatch center, how they're using it. It's not a foolproof method. Folsom uses it very actively, but 9 times out of 10 when I get a Folsom Nixle alert, it's because the Veterans Day parade was canceled, or because they're going to have a lane closure, or because they're going to, you know, something's going on with construction. So I personally would never rely on it for active crime, if that helps any.
Well, it used to have more crime news.
Yeah.
Now it's like somebody pulled the plug and said, no, the only thing we're going to talk about are missing persons.
Yeah, so again, it's how, for us, for instance, it's how our dispatch center disseminates the information to Nixle, and then Nixle sends it out. It's not coming direct from CHP. It's information that we're broadcasting to Nixle itself, and then it gets sent out.
So if you can, try to, and this is the kind of things that we'd really like to know, because not everything is the crime of the century or a capital offense. The quality of life issues sometimes. So try not to do too much reverse engineering if you can by having the attitude of your town be a reflection of the numbers that you saw or the stats you saw. Instead, how is it you feel? How do you feel in your neighborhood? How do you feel at the store? If the answer is scared, what is it that scares you? Please tell us about that, and we'll get right on that. That's what we do. Okay? It's 7 o'clock, and I thank everybody for coming. We will stick around if anybody else has questions or anything for us. We're going to stay around. From the Sheriff's Department and the POP team and me personally, I wish you guys a happy holidays. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, thank you.
Heck yeah. Is that what you want to be, K9?
Very cool. Have you ever met one of our dogs before? Yeah. Yeah. You can actually...